Well, hello. Welcome back to our next episode of the Carbon Series podcast. I'm joined by a very special guest, the president of PowerNot, Iain Melnes. He is joining us from Fremont, California. How are you doing today, Iain?
Good afternoon. It's a nice, warm, sunny day here.
Nice, warm, sunny day. We're a little bit rainy here in Idaho, but we needed the moisture, so I can't complain. And I'm really excited to be presenting this. So the PowerNot, when I think of what that means, I mean, like there is a whole lot of different things that could mean. And so the PowerNot provides safe and economically sound solutions for commercial, industrial, and military customers globally seeking to reduce their carbon footprint. With installations globally, PowerNot offers the most technologically advanced machines available today and is the market leader, offering 8 food waste digesters with models that process from 25 kilogram all the way up to 1,000 kilograms of organic waste per day. PowerNot designs, develops, and manufactures its products in Silicon Valley, California. Did that sum up PowerNot decently there?
It's a mouthful, yes, but the long and short of it is that we build machines that digest waste food. So anybody who has a problem with their waste food can come to us to help us solve that problem. It's interesting that you started out by saying that it's rainy in Idaho, and here on the West Coast, we have another drought starting. We've had far too little rain again over the past year, all due to climate change. I've been in the Valley 35 years, and it wasn't like this when I came here. So just in such a short period of time, we're seeing the effects of climate change. What our product is doing is it is diverting waste from the landfill. When waste goes to the landfill, it decomposes anaerobically, creating methane, hydrogen sulfide, and a bunch of other nasty, smelly gases that pollute the atmosphere 87 times worse than carbon dioxide. The impact of organic waste ending up on a landfill is huge and has a huge impact on the carbon footprint. And so it's one of the big things that's affecting our climate is all this organic waste going to the landfill. And we're building products to get that waste out of the landfill. So we're helping to improve the climate, and hopefully it'll rain again here soon in California.
Yeah, we're praying for rain for you guys. And, California being, the 5th largest economy, like we need you guys to be doing well. We need you guys to be, kind of leaders in this climate change movement. And, California, sunny California, like I grew up, I'm from North Dakota, and we always thought of California as a magical place. And it's still, I feel like the magic is still there. It's just, there's a lot of things going on with, obviously coming out of the pandemic, people getting back to normal. Why would you say, to boil it down, you guys are a biodigester? And so when we talk about organic waste, is that mainly food waste then?
Yes, we're selling to companies that have a problem with their organic waste. The simple answer is to continue doing as we have been doing and just throw it in the trash. If you're a large producer of organic waste, you have hundreds of pounds or thousands of pounds of organic waste food per day. That's not a viable solution for the planet. And also, most of our customers are buying our products to save money. By putting a machine on site that is eating that waste food means you're not having to put it out in a dumpster out the back of your building. You're not having the flies and the rodents and the rats and all the rest of it gather around it. You're not having the smells. You're not having to pay for someone to come and pick it up on a regular basis. So it's improving operations and significantly lowering your costs. Our machines, when they're installed with a customer, are paying for themselves typically anywhere from 4 months all the way up to 2.5 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty incredible, that ROI. And, oftentimes, food waste may not be as mainstream on the impacts of, a carbon footprint. But how big of a issue, how big of a problem are we talking about here?
Well, totally. The impact of waste food on landfills is more than the impact of all the flying throughout the world. And so people need to get that into perspective. The other thing that people need to get into perspective is that, sure, a business may recycle its paper, plastics, cardboard, and metal, and at the end of the day, they're left with the smelly, nasty stuff, which is where we help them solve that problem. And if you're sending a few £100 of waste food to a landfill every day, that could, let's say our standard big machine, which is going into a standard hotel, is £1,000 or £1,200 of waste food a day. And the equivalent to that is driving over 200 times around the entire US. So that's the impact. If you're sending your waste food to the landfill, you drive around drive around the outside of the US once every couple of days is equivalent to that.
Yeah.
So it's a huge impact on the environment. And people will put up some solar panels on their roof, and that's wonderful. That's good. But if you end up throwing organic waste into the landfill, that has a significantly bigger impact on the environment than saving a few bits of electricity by solar panels.
Yeah, I don't think it gets talked about much, or people aren't really aware of how much energy it takes to transport all of that organic waste to, whether it's a landfill or a composting operation. Like, these are very intensive man hours, very labor intensive to get this from point A to point B. And you guys provide a solution for that. Why don't people talk about this very often?
Well, we started selling this product about a decade ago. And when we started to talk to people about this machine that would eat their waste food, they looked at us as if we'd come from Mars. People are starting to get the habit of this, and now it's getting significantly more attention. If you look here in California, a recent law has been enacted, Senate Bill 1383, sorry, to get the waste food out of the landfill. And so now it's got some visibility. It's got visibility at the federal level. There are other states are mandating this as well. New York City was one of the most advanced early on to get the organics out of the landfill. So there is attention at the legislative level that people are realizing that this has a huge impact on the climate and on the environment. And so, yes, people are starting to get it, but you're right. It's still not an issue which is on the forefront of everybody's mind. People think about saving energy and turning lights off, and yes, you should. And yes, you should drive a fuel-efficient car, or you should use public transport when available. But there are all these other things that contribute to climate warming apart from energy usage.
And so when we talk about biodigesters, our audience, let's say they know nothing about them. So if you're in a university or a hospital, or one of your target demographics or your audience, what is the biodigester system and the process, and how does it work?
Okay, it's a big stainless steel machine, a stainless steel stomach, if you like.
Sure.
And the user is putting the waste food into the machine as the waste is generated, and the stomach is constantly digesting it. It uses a special blend of microorganisms to do that digestion. Those are naturally occurring microorganisms, which are all on the EPA-approved TSCA list. So they're all safe to handle, safe to transport, non-pollutive. And they are digesting the waste. So as the waste goes into the machine, the microorganisms digest it, they convert it all to water, and the water goes down the drain where the nutrients are recycled through the sewage system.
Wow, that's an amazing process to think about. So those little bugs that are in there, almost like probiotics, I guess you could say.
Well, yes. I mean, you know, if you imagine a tub of yogurt has got a lot of microorganisms in it and probiotics, yes, and our microorganisms are the same. There is a house for the microorganisms, which is a special chip inside the machine, and those chips stay in the machine all the time, and they're highly porous pieces of plastic, which will provide a house for the microorganisms and greater surface area for those microorganisms to digest the waste food. And so the machines digest the waste food very, very quickly. And as you started out, you know, we have machines which are digesting anywhere from 10 kilograms a day, 20, 25 pounds a day, all the way up to 3 tons a day, 6,000 pounds a day.
Wow.
8 different sizes of machine. Our smallest machine is the size of a residential dishwasher, you know, 2 foot by 2 foot by about 2.5 foot tall. And it sits in smaller kitchens or convenience stores to digest their waste food. And then our largest machine will digest upwards of 3 tons of waste food a day. It has a bin tipper to tip the waste into the machine. And so, yeah, the machines are all weighing the amount of waste as it goes in. So the ultimate goal is obviously to reduce the amount of waste. You can't avoid the waste. I mean, if you peel a pineapple, for instance, you've got 50% waste and 50% edible. And so you can't avoid the waste. We can never avoid it. It's what we do with it once we do have this waste, and how we properly dispose of it when we do have the waste.
And so when an operator, you know, or, you know, hotel or school, when they're thinking about starting a program to reduce their waste, let's say you're in California and you're wanting to comply with this new SB 1383 rule that's coming out, you know, to where you have to reduce those organic waste going to the landfill. Why is PowerNot the right, you know, pick for them, and what other solutions are out there, you know, for this?
Well, you know, the waste companies which are used to picking up your trash and taking it to a landfill are getting organized and are picking up your trash, your organic waste, and taking it to a compost facility. But to do composting right is not easy. To do inside our machine, the process is aerobic. That means that the organic waste is being broken down in the presence of oxygen. If you imagine walking into a forest, all of the leaves of the trees have fallen onto the forest floor, and they are being decomposed, they're being digested by microorganisms in the presence of oxygen. And when you walk into a forest, it doesn't smell. On the other hand, if you take that organic material that you have, your waste food, and you put it in a plastic bag, and you put it in the sunshine, you come back in a couple of hours, it's going to stink. That's because it's being digested anaerobically in the absence of oxygen. And that's what happens when the organic material gets onto a landfill. It's digested in the absence of oxygen because it all gets buried. And that's why it's creating methane and all those other nasty smells. That's why nobody wants a landfill in their backyard. And so if you're going to do composting, you need to make sure that it's not going to digest anaerobically. You have to get oxygen into that compost. And that means that the compost needs to be turned on a regular basis to introduce air into the process. And so that means a lot more material, a lot more equipment to be able to do that. It also means that since the process may go anaerobic, it may smell, that people still don't want compost facilities anywhere near their housing estates. So compost facilities are hundreds of miles away from here. Our nearest compost facility here is about 150 or 200 miles north, and that's where the organic waste is taken. And that's come round, collected in a big diesel truck, picking up a few pounds here and a few pounds there, and driving it all this way to be composted. That's not necessarily good for the environment. No. Plus, of course, it's collected only infrequently, maybe twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. And in between those times, it's sitting in your dump out the back of your facility and starting to smell. On the other hand, you put one of our LFC biodigestors in your facility, It's digesting the waste as you accumulate it. You throw it in at any time, and the process is continuous. You don't have to take it outside. You don't have to store it in a dump. You don't have to have that truck come along and pick it up periodically. And so it improves your operations. It's much cleaner, much more hygienic, and it saves money.
Yeah, that convenience piece, the efficiency, the sustainability. It seems like there's a tremendous value proposition there. And I think you guys sum it up in your 5 C's. Would you explain to us what your 5 C's are?
Okay, you're going to put me on the spot here. 5 C's, convenience. The convenience is that the machine is inside your facility, and you don't have the trouble of disposing it outside. Cleanliness, it's much cleaner. You don't have that smells, you don't have the rodents and the flies outside. Cost savings, you're going to save money on having the trash picked up. Control, you can see how much is being digested by the hour, day, week, month, and year. So, for instance, if on Tuesday we've had twice as much waste as the rest of the week, well, maybe we need to understand why that was. Maybe that was the day the chef was off and the sous chef took over. And then, what was the last one?
Compliance.
Compliance, of course, with local laws and ordinances. In that we have these new laws coming into effect that you can't send the waste to the landfill anymore. So you're going to comply with local laws and ordinances and regulations.
And so you got that control piece is very interesting because data analytics, it helps, companies kind of better understand their operations, I think, even by, looking at their waste, their outputs, so that's a very interesting added value proposition, I think, to that. And after this, at US Energy and here in the carbon series, you have 2 of our 3, kind of core principles around the collaboration and the cooperation piece. And that's really kind of what we're focused on as well. So what industries are you collaborating with the most right now?
Well, of course, before the pandemic, it was mostly hotels and restaurants. Over the past year or so, that's been impacted greatly. We also had started to sell in huge volumes to the cruise ships businesses. And a lot of that business is now starting to come back. Over the past 6 months or so, we've installed about 100 machines on cruise ships, for example. And the cruise ships are starting to plan to sail again. In fact, the cruise ships were mandated by the DOJ to actually use biodigesters on their ships.
Okay.
During the rest of the pandemic over the past year, we've been selling to people who are getting ready for reopening. So we have a significant number of resorts and resort islands that are using our machines. A lot of hospitals are using it. Supermarkets, the business in supermarkets has been great during the pandemic because people are not going out to eat at restaurants. They're buying more from supermarkets. Supermarkets have been a lot more busy over the past year, and therefore they have a lot more waste to get rid of. And so that's been a good customer for us. And then the military is also buying our products because the military has, both in the US and in Canada, has a great mandate to reduce the amount of their carbon footprint.
And that leads into the next question around kind of compliance as regulations and policies become more stringent, and we're really trying to focus on the decarbonization. How does PowerNot help companies meet that environmental, compliance? Why are they going to choose, PowerNot, I guess you could say?
Well, when you're sending your organic waste to the landfill, you have a huge carbon footprint, as we've talked about before. Yep. When you're putting the stuff into one of our machines, it's being digested aerobically. It's not generating methane. It's part of the natural carbon cycle. So you've immediately cut out that huge carbon footprint that you had before. And we have several commercial companies which are using our machines, and that was their driving force behind it. The corporate social responsibility, to be able to reduce their carbon footprint when they looked at where their waste was going and the impact on the environment. And the waste food was a high part of what they needed to solve the problem for.
And so how has that impact, you've been in business over a decade, how has the impact been quantified to date, of the companies and the industries that you've helped thus far?
Well, we have 1,000 machines, about 1,000 machines installed globally. We're still exporting the majority of our product. We have machines installed on 5 continents. We will soon, within another couple of months, have machines installed on all 7 continents. And no one else will be able to say that they've got biodigesters on all 7 continents. And so the customer base is large for us. And last year, 2020, was our best year ever. We had greater sales and greater profit than any previous year. So we're on a roll.
Yeah, that's amazing news. And honestly, when we first started talking, I was relatively new to this space. I mean, I knew waste was an issue, but I didn't know it was bigger than the entire aviation industry. And so from that awareness standpoint, I think there's so much potential. And so where do you think your scalability is at? Like, so if you have, 10 different customers across numerous industries, and they come to you and they say, hey, we need biodigesters. Are you guys, how can you scale up, I guess you could say, to meet these needs? Are you guys ready to go on that?
Yes, we're ready to go. I mean, we're anticipating more than a doubling in our sales again this year. And we're still manufacturing everything here in Silicon Valley. Customers around the world like that. They like our quality. They like our reliability. They like the look of our products as well. It's all very, very shiny stainless steel stuff. And they like the fact that it's coming from Silicon Valley. And so we have space here to more than double our output this year. And yeah, it's a nice problem to have if suddenly we have to quadruple our output this year.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're definitely, I mean, you're proven, you're tried, you're tested. It's just a matter of, getting this in front of these, universities, these hospitals. After, we started talking, I started looking at all the different places that could be applicable, to where your product could go into. And I'm like, I just see them everywhere now,
Yes.
And so go. I didn't mean to cut you off, but when I'm thinking of like supermarkets or universities, what would you say is like your best case study? I know that you guys are working really closely with University of Nebraska at Lincoln.
Yes, we did a webinar, joint webinar with UNL just recently. They're a great fan of ours. The principal purchasing person there responsible for it, he was at a prior university where he had installed our machines. And when he moved to UNL, that was one of the first things that he wanted to do. He's now bought three or four machines. They're proving, and he's planning to put them everywhere that they have food. I mean, that's the way to go. Is if we need to solve the climate crisis, then we have to act fast, and we have to get, one of the things that we have to do is get all this organic waste out of the landfill.
Yeah.
And there was a case where, in his particular case, he has a campus, and so he has space, and for him it was a choice that perhaps he could do composting on site, and then he could use that compost on site. But the practicalities of it were just very, very difficult. Composting is not as easy as people would think. I mean, I have done composting at my home. It's not easy. You have to make sure it's moist. You have to turn it regularly. And even with the university, with students there, nobody wanted to go out in the cold and turn it and get the flies off if the flies had accumulated. So it's not an easy task. And so that's why they ended up and decided that the best option for the university was to put in biodigesters.
Yeah, and so let's give an example. Let's say I'm a facilities director or an engineering director, and I'm working for Albertsons or I'm working for Boise State University here to make it local. What do I got to do to get into contact? Who do I contact? And I think you guys have two different programs where you can either buy the machines outright or we can lease them. Is that fair to say?
Yes, we arrange leasing for many of our customers through a third-party finance company, and the beauty there is obviously it's not a capital expenditure for our customers, and oftentimes the leasing fee, the monthly leasing fee, is less than they're paying the trash company to come and pick up the food, the organic waste, and so from the day the machine is installed, it's paying for itself. And that doesn't include all the operational benefits that you don't have to have the plastic bags you used to have. You don't have to have people pushing the stuff outside. You don't have to have that bin outside gathering dust and smells and flies. And so you have operational benefits and cost reduction on day one, cleanliness and hygienic on day one.
From a U.S. Energy standpoint, we are certifying PowerNot as a sustainable solution, and we're going to try to connect as many people and make them aware that you guys are doing fantastic work. So if I am going to make recommendations, what is the best way for a customer to get a hold of you guys? Do you prefer a call, email, website? If they want to just learn more.
People can do any of it. It's PowerNot.com, PowerNot, PowerNot.com, or send an email to info, @PowerNot.com, or give us a call, 408-889-8433.
Iain, I want to thank you so much for coming on board. We're going to have to follow up here, probably after the Carbon Summit and see how things are going. I did have one more question for you. How are you guys planning on innovating for the future here?
Well, I mean, all of our intellectual property is our own. We do all of our engineering here in Silicon Valley. And so this is a kind of product that has engineering from many disciplines. I mean, we have very complex mechanical engineering because we need very high accuracy, and at the same time, we're moving tons and tons of waste inside that drum. We have electrical engineering because we're driving heavy duty motors. We have electronic engineering because we have control systems. Each of our machines has 50 sensors. Each of our machines hooks out to the cloud. And so from any device anywhere in the world, you can see what is happening to your machine, how much has been digested. So we have a lot of cloud computing on the machine as well. And so we have a lot of software on the machine. On our newly introduced machine, we have 4 different computers doing various parts to make sure the machine is operating at optimal efficiency. And so, yeah, there's a lot of technology in it. There's a lot of engineering in it, and we're increasing that. We've just released our small little machine, which has got what we call our 7th generation technology on it. And of course, there's more features coming down the road, and there's more products coming down the road. We're not stopping. Customers are demanding increased stuff from us, and we're improving and developing new products all the time.
Well, Iain, I want to thank you so much for your service. It just sounds like you guys are definitely on the right track. You're projected to at least double with your sales. And so we look forward to our continued collaboration with you guys and watch this growth. And hopefully we can just help share this awareness and really let people know why PowerNots and why your biodigesters are the right choice. Just from the convenience, the cost saving. We'll go through your 5 C's: convenience, cost saving, compliance, cleanliness, and then the control with the data analytics. I think is just a tremendous value add. So again, thank you so much for joining us at here at the Carbon Series podcast. And the next step for us is the Carbon Summit. And so we'll have you guys obviously integrated in there. And so until next time for the follow-up, we want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jason.
Iain Melnes, president of PowerNot out of Fremont, California. Thank you so much. And until next time.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.